We're here today with a comedian who's overcome a lot of adversity in her life, someone who has turned her whole life around and in the pursuit of comedy found success and is starting to find a bit of comedic greatness. You may have heard her on Joe Rogan's podcast,
Mark Maron.
Mark Maron's podcast, or Ari Shafir's podcast. We're really happy today to have Miss Pat on the Last Gentleman podcast. Miss Pat, how are you?
Oh, I'm just
we got on your radar, or you got on our radar from Joe Rogan's podcast. We're big fans of that podcast, and it was really nice to hear you there. For some people, we're located in Canada, so for our Canadian listeners, what we'd like to do is introduce you to a number of Canadian people, get you kind of acquainted, because I don't think a lot of people have heard about you in Canada. Have you ever been in Canada doing any stand-up?
I just left Canada last week. I was in Edmonton.
Oh. Nice. How did you like it?
Cold.
I love Canada.
It's not too cold for you?
No. I live in Indianapolis. You know, I'm from Atlanta, but I've gotten used to the cold weather.
Okay,
but
so
it was cold now. It was cold.
How did you start? How did you get started in comedy?
I got started from a couple of trips to the welfare office. I don't know if you're familiar with welfare in the States.
Yeah.
But I went to the welfare office, and I always had a scheme to tell these horrible stories in my life, to make white people feel sorry for you so they can give you a little bit more.
Yeah.
But one year I got a black caseworker, and the shit didn't work. She bust out laughing and was like, "You should go and be a comedian." And I was like, "I didn't come here for a job. I came here for free stuff." So I went and I went and gave it a try, and I was like, "Oh, this might be okay."
So where did you start? Where was the first place you did comedy? Where you first did stand-up?
I first did stand-up at a bar in Atlanta called The Pub. It was a little bar. Everybody would gather there on a Sunday night, and just a bunch of drunk people. And I went in with what I thought was my first joke. I was actually horrible, but I killed the crowd because I know how to talk about people.
Yeah.
And I left out of there saying, "Yes, I'm a comedian."
Now, just wanted to remind you, we're on uncensored podcast. We haven't talked about that before, so you don't have to worry about swearing, or if your language goes anywhere, don't worry about it. So you went there first day on stage. You did one time, you did 5 minutes, I'd say, and you killed, and it was on from there. You just kept going every week. What do you normally?
I just kept going every week.
What do you normally talk about? What were you talking about on stage early in your career?
Early in my career, I was just talking about what most women talk about. Man bashing and not suck dicks and stuff like that. And I never been a fan. I never really been a fan of sucking dicks. So that ain't my forte. And I was just doing what I saw other black females doing.
No cat jokes?
My husband was like, "Nobody want to know about your sexual shit. You're not funny." And, my husband just kept saying, "This shit is not funny. You just falling into the category with everybody else. You need to stay your ass at home."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "I don't want to stay at home." You know what it was? It was I like attention.
Yeah.
And when I got on stage, people showed me attention. But when I went home, I was just a normal-ass wife who didn't like to clean up. And my husband was like, "Clean the fucking house and do this and do that." But when I went out to them little bars, I felt like a little superstar. Everybody was looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was horrible.
And it's so honest. I love it. You knew, like, at the beginning you could tell you weren't the best, and you got better. How did you start getting better at stand up? How did you improve? Where did you learn to improve?
What happened? My husband works at General Motors. So we moved from Atlanta, and I was on the urban scene, so I was kind of making my way through the urban scene. When we moved to Indiana, that it fucking rocked my world because it had no urban scene. So then you had to go into these mainstream clubs who didn't allow like fucking urban acts
Yeah.
they didn't want to be bothered with urban acts. All they wanted was mainstream acts.
Mm-hmm.
So I started to switch. I started to change, and only thing I could do was talk about me. That's what made me unique and different, I thought. So I just started to tell stories about my life, and people started to laugh, and I was like, this shit funny? And I started to look at the funny in it, too. So it was once I got to Indianapolis when I started to change.
Now, you had like one of the reasons we wanted to have you on our show is because we like talking to people who've overcome adversity. You had a very difficult childhood. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like whatever you're willing to share, but I know you had a little bit of you had a rough go as a kid.
Yeah, life was rough, I think, from the day she popped me out of vagina. I had 2 kids by the time I was 14. By the time I was 15. I got shot a couple times. I started selling drugs really early on in life, because I couldn't get a job. I'm 15 years old with 2 kids. I would go on interviews and try to get a job, but they would be like, where the fuck is your work permit? And I would have to introduce them to my kids. Here's my work permit. I need a job. It was like, you and them kids need to take y'all ass home and go to school. I'm like, I'm their fucking mama. We need a job. And so, really, I couldn't get a job without a work permit. And by that time, I had already dropped out of school.
Mm-hmm.
So, everybody was on crack in my neighborhood. So I was like, shit, I don't use crack. Why not sell them what they need?
Yeah.
So I started selling crack. And it was lots. I remember when I made my first $1,000. I was like, holy fuck, I'm rich. Because in the hood, if you get $1,000, you rich.
Wow.
So I really thought I was rich. I was like, I'm fucking rich. I got $1,000. In the hood, you can't see past so many zeros.
Yeah.
It's usually 2. $100 was good. If you get $1,000, I thought I was so fucking rich. And I was just 15.
Wow.
So I did what any 15-year-old would do and 16-year-old would do. I took all the dope money and blew it. I would buy cars. I would buy Jordans. I would buy clothes. I just did straight Negro shit.
So you're 15. You're selling crack. You have 2 kids. You needed how did you do that? Like I'd imagine you'd get robbed a lot. Did you have protection?
No. Stop looking at TV. That shit don't work like that.
It's not like The Wire.
It's not The Wire, right? Shit.
Well, it is like The Wire.
Oh.
It is like The Wire.
Oh,
We just didn't have that chick riding up. You knew when to leave. People came through it. It was stuff in Atlanta called the robbing crew. But you kind of knew when shit wasn't right, and I would go home. I think I got robbed like once or twice, but not like that chick was doing. Wasn't nobody killing like that. But, I got shot at a couple times.
Oh, wow.
That's how I got shot in the titty.
You got
Wait. Shot in the titty? Wait, could you please Could you tell us that story, please? How does that happen?
Well, I was sitting in my car. I used to have a pearl white Cadillac.
Ooh,
and
nice.
back then, this is in the 80s, so you got all the flakes in the side of the paint job, and
The dice.
you got the rims and you got the music. So I'm sitting in my car, and this guy come down the street, and we get into it because I guess he was a hater.
Mm-hmm.
And I point a pistol in his face, and I've never shot anybody but my baby daddy. But I'll tell you about that later.
okay.
So I put the
go to that
pistol in
one.
his face, and I told him to get the fuck out of here because he spit on my car. So he's like, "When I come back, I'm gonna kill you, bitch." But when you in the hood, you hear that shit every day. He go up the street and come back, and he just started shooting, and I started running, and I ran. I was running towards my friend's house, and it hit me up under my arm. He shot me with a .45 and blew my fucking nipple off.
Oh my God, your nipple blowed up. Were they able to reattach it or?
Well, I was 15 when he blew it off, so it's just it damaged the nipple and its fucking big ass hole through my areola. Thank God I was 15. Thank God I was 15 and was able to heal quick. But I realized quick you really don't need 2 nipples.
Yeah, one's enough, right?
That's why they come in pairs.
Yeah, one's enough. That's fine. That's amazing. You've
Yeah.
Now, when did you get out? So you were 15 years old, you were selling crack, your nipples shot off. Like, that must have...
Well, that was the second time I got shot. The first time I got shot, my kid's father shot me in the back of the head. I guess it cracked my skull.
What the fuck?
And he shot me the first time.
Your baby daddy shot you...
I got shot.
In the back of the head.
Yes.
Jesus.
I guess it was like a nice scrape. It cracked my skull, and I was so in love. When I left the hospital, I called his ass. I was like, you love me. You shot me.
Oh my God! Wow. Jeez.
Wow. And you laugh at it. It's amazing though to hear you like really laugh at it and look back at something like that, like getting shot in the back of the head, and like laughing at it and being able to turn that into comedy. It's amazing. It's really brilliant because a lot of people go through stuff that's not even a quarter as bad. Never forget it, and it only turns into darkness in their life. So how did you take...
You know, I learned...
Sorry, go ahead.
What did you say?
Go ahead.
No, you go and finish. I mean, go, because my mind will fucking go.
How do you
question?
How do you take that darkness and turn it into comedy? And not necessarily comedy to laugh at, but you were able to continue and become successful in spite of this crazy shit.
I learned not to dwell on nothing I don't have control over. You know, I can't do anything about the past, and that's what a lot of people fuck up at. They just sit around and say, "Oh, such did this to me." I learned to forgive everybody in my life that I thought that brought me harm or did me wrong. I learned to forgive them because if I didn't forgive them, I allowed them to continue to control me to this day.
Jesus.
Like, if I didn't forgive my kid's father to shoot me, beat me, I was 12 years old when I met this dude. He was 22 and married.
Whoa.
Wow.
So, really, he took my whole fucking childhood from me.
Oh, that's sad.
And, I'm a 12-year-old. What I realized later in life, that I was searching for a father figure. And this fucker stepped in, have sex with me, get me pregnant, leave me, beat me, shoot me, dog me out. And people ask me to this day, how can you talk to him? Because I've forgiven him. He's never asked me to, but I have. Because if I didn't forgive him, I would go on the rest of my life hating him, and him not ever knowing that he still have control over me.
Yeah.
So he don't control me. I'm free to talk about it. I can talk about it. I no longer cry about it. Some of the shit still bothers me. I mean, I'm human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful how you...
But I forgave him.
It's beautiful how you said you forgave him without him asking you to do it. I think it's so, like, it's brilliant. It's so important to do that sometimes, is just take it back, take your life back, and ask for forgiveness, and just give it. Fuck it, who gives a shit? It's about your life, and you really made the best of it. It's amazing. It really is, it's an amazing story to hear about. Now, you ended up, so you're selling crack, you have your kids... When did that start to turn around for you? Like, where did that, like, because you could, like, there's a lot of people never stop selling crack.
Oh, they stop selling crack. They go to hell or jail. There's only two places they can go.
Oh, true.
So, believe me, they stop. Crack is like anything else. You eventually grow out of that shit, okay? Because people get off drugs, customers change, your life change. You ain't gonna. If you out there selling crack now, I don't know what the fuck. People's not on crack like that anymore.
Yeah.
I was selling crack when crack first hit the black community. So it was like fucking Jordan coming out the shelf for the first time to the black community.
Wow.
That's how hot crack was, the way Jordan was still today. The way people lined up for Jordan, that's how people lined up for crack when I was selling it. I'm 15 years old making at least $10,000 a day. $5,000 to $10,000 a day is according to how much I wanted to stay out there.
Holy shit!
I'm living in nice apartments. I got a learner's license. I had about 8 cars. Couldn't even fucking drive. A crackhead taught me how to drive.
Wow.
And then in the States, when you get your learner's license, you still have to have a licensed driver in the car with you at all times. So what I would do is I would go around and hire crackheads who had a valid driver's license, so I could drive my car.
Yeah.
It's like a fucked up Uber.
So when I pull up in the trap, the crackheads will be waiting. Oh, Rabbit, can I go? Because that was my street name, Rabbit. So every day I pull up, I got 2-3 crackheads waiting on their shift to ride in the car with me.
Oh my God. So they would just be in the car with you. You'd give them some crack, I guess, to keep them going, and you would drive.
Yeah. I would drive, and they'd be on the passenger side smoking crack. And, I mean, I'm 15 years old. I think I'm doing it. I got my kids in the back seat.
In a car seat, hopefully.
You make sure they're buckled up.
They cheering me on. What did you say?
You got to make sure they're buckled up.
Oh, they was buckled up, man. We was all buckled up. I think the most unsafest shit in the car was the crackhead with his pipe, because my kids was like, that don't look like a cigarette, mama.
Holy shit. I can't believe 5,000 to 10,000 a day. That's fucking unbelievable. I love it.
That's like Rick Ross money.
I almost want
to. I made a lot of fucking money.
I almost want to not talk about comedy and just get into this crack game a little bit. That sounds fucking awesome. 5 to 10 grand a day. Shit.
Jesus,
that's amazing.
Yeah, and I was 15, and I blew through that. And sometimes, like, I still talk to my kid's father, and now that I look back at it, I was like, what the fuck did I do with all that money? He's like, we partied. We bought clothes, we shop. I was like, that's the most ignorant shit ever.
You know what, though? I think, like, there's something to be said about success. If you find success on the street, you can find success off of it. And, like, I think you're kind of proof of that. Like, there's a bit of a hustle that happens on the street that if you take to everyday life and you take to normal shit, will get stuff done for you as well, I think.
Yes, it's called I Won't Be Denied.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah,
and that's what I just work hard. What I've learned from the streets, I take it to I take it to the comedy game. That there was many days I had to pack my kids up, and my kids stayed in the laundromat where I sold my drugs at. I didn't sell the drugs at the laundromat, but the guy who owned the laundromat liked me, so he would watch my kids while I sold crack, and we would be out there from early morning to late night. So there'll be many nights that I have to leave my husband just to go to open mic. And I look at it, I was like, damn, this is the same shit I did when I was selling crack. Always on the go, always hustling.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Wow. Well, Miss Pat, I gotta ask you, so where do you think you would be today if it wasn't for that caseworker planting the seed in your head of doing comedy?
Well, by that time I had already gotten married. I had already met my husband.
Oh, okay.
So he kind of pulled me out of the crack. He just got out of the Persian Gulf War, and I knew him through a friend, so we hooked up. And by this time, when I met this caseworker, we was already together. I had custody of my sister 4 kids. But had she not told me I was funny, I'd probably be somewhere working at McDonald's because I'm a convicted felon.
That's what?
Well, she was like, I think you are hilarious. So I went out. Well, what I did when I left the welfare office, I Googled comedians because she said Richard Pryor. And I was like, who the fuck is Richard Pryor?
Wow.
So I went home and I got on my computer and I Googled Richard Pryor. And I just saw what he made. I was like, holy shit, I can do this.
Yeah.
Just like that. That's amazing. Wow. And so how long have you been doing comedy for?
13 years now.
Wow.
And you've opened up for Cat Williams?
Arnez J, D. Ray Davis.
Nice.
D.R. Hughley.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
I've worked with a lot of guys.
Do you have a favorite?
But it's nothing like working with yourself.
Do you have a favorite comedian out there right now?
Yes, Chris Rock.
The legend.
I love Bill Cosby, too. He's going through some shit, but I love Bill Cosby.
I was at his...
Bill Cosby taught me to tell stories.
I was at his show the other day in Hamilton. He was in town where I live in Canada, and we went, and I went to see him. And he does this thing that was amazing where he really makes it feel like he's just talking to you. Like there was 1,000 people in the place, in the theater we were at. when he's talking, it's just like, well, he's just having a conversation with me. And he's telling this story. And it was still something that was crazy to see. At 77, I'm just going to be shitting my pants at a Walmart. So for him to be able to go on stage, perform under all this adversity was pretty crazy to see. What's your take on the whole Cosby situation?
I don't like judging people. He haven't been charged with anything. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. I just hope. Bill Cosby is one of my favorite comedians. I can only hope and pray it's not true. I wasn't there, so I don't know. Because I don't want I don't want anybody judging me saying, oh, you did it because 30 people said it. I don't know. I wasn't there. Fuck, I wasn't even born when some of them women were getting knocked out.
Jesus. Yeah, it's the truth.
I wasn't. I was born in the 70s, so I don't know shit about Spanish Fly. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
Wow.
All I can say is I hope and pray it's not true. I don't know. I'm not going to judge Bill Cosby on that. I just pray that he come through this and they all work it out. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Does it break my heart? Yes, it does. I love Bill Cosby. He tells stories like, I went to go see Bill Cosby. I've seen him like 3 or 4 times. I went to go see him one time in Atlanta with a friend. And Bill Cosby told the smoothest 2 hours I ever seen in my life. And I'm sitting there all into these stories, and then it was over. And I told my friend, I was like, fuck Bill Cosby. He was like, why? I was like, he did 45 minutes. He was like, Pat, he did 2 hours. Yeah. I looked at my watch. I was like, holy shit, we've been in there for 2 hours?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing.
I pray one day when I get to that level to be able to just smooth 2 hours and people just still want more.
Yeah. He was so good. He made a joke. That performance, which was kind of interesting, where a woman stood up in the crowd and he literally did this. He's like, where are you going? And she's like, I'm going to go get a drink. Do you want one? And he made a joke where he said, women shouldn't be drinking around me. And he said it into the theater.
Yeah, I read that.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, well, you got fucking... And he's still a comic, no matter... Like, that's the thing. That comic mind, maybe not the best joke at the time, but he was still so quick. He's still on it. He knows what people are saying about him, and he just doesn't give a fuck. He's going up there. And I had to see it. I had to see this guy do 2 hours in spite of everything. And at 77, it was unbelievable. I can only pray that I'm still alive at that age, let alone being able to do comedy. It'd be amazing.
He's the man. I will probably always be a fan.
Here.
Hey, so Miss Pat, I gotta say, you've done your rounds on some of the top comedy podcasts out there. Have you considered starting your own podcast?
Yes, I have.
Oh.
But I'm a little busy right now because of all the podcasts. You know, doing Bert, Ari, Eddie Ills, Tom Segura, Joe Rogan, Mark Maron. Those guys have really helped me get my story out there. I hope I didn't miss anybody's podcast. But so I'm kind of busy. Like I just got a book deal. We in the middle of writing the book right now.
Congratulations!
Wow,
yeah,
that's amazing.
Thank you.
Wow.
It's about my life. It's gonna be great because it's stories that I could never put on stage.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really make funny. So hopefully when you read this book, you're gonna feel what I went through.
Mm-hmm.
But the greatest thing about this book, you're not gonna keep crying the whole book. You're gonna cry. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna feel sorry. You're gonna be happy. You're gonna get different emotions through this book. I'm on this season of Last Comic Standing, so I'm
nice.
kind of busy with that.
Wow.
That's amazing. You have a book coming out. We're eventually going to see a Miss Pat movie. I'm going to call that right now. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Thank you.
I'm going to pay to see that
one. Who's going to play me?
I don't know.
I used to have a booty like Beyonce. So they can...
Well, I don't think she's up to anything.
Just like Beyonce when I was 12.
Oh.
So, they can go ahead and give her the early role.
She's not busy these days. It's okay. We got to get her in there.
Jay-Z's got it locked down.
When so you are thinking of doing a podcast, because I think it'd be brilliant just to hear your stories, long form. It's so nice to be able to just talk and not, like, as a comedian, when you're on stage, you got to say funny shit or it's going to get weird, right? You have to make the audience laugh. But as a podcaster, you can go in depth with your stories. If you ever need any help with podcasting, I know you have a lot of famous friends that can help you. You got us too. I'd love to help you out with your podcast and get you any kind of advice you need. We have a lot of people over here that have helped a lot of people out. So if you ever had any questions, we'd love to help you out with podcasting.
Well, I'm looking forward to coming to Toronto
Yes.
one day. I haven't been next year, but I would love to come to Toronto.
Well, we're gonna make sure that when you come to Toronto, we get a lot of people out to see it because I think you're a brilliant comedian. I love your attitude, and I think it's amazing that you've taken something so dark and made it so beautiful and turned it into a career of comedy, which is really what it's all about, I think. What life's all about. You gotta fucking laugh at the darkness sometimes.
Well, what people don't understand, people always say, "Oh, I'm telling my story," but allow me when I started doing comedy and started talking about what I went through, it was also a healing point for me, just so other people can hear what I went through. Because then I've learned I'm not the only person out here that had a fucked up life. Like I thought teenage pregnancy only really happened in the black community. I was blown away with as white women and Mexicans and Mexicans of course, but other races would whisper in my ear and say this shit happened to them too.
Yeah, everybody's getting pregnant.
So it's just everybody got problems. I thought I was the only one that had babies at 12s and shit. Of my community, because that's where I was stuck in the hood. I didn't know what was going on in the real world. So when I started telling this shit on stage, this shit happened to everybody. Everybody might not get their nipples shot off. But they have problems like they have problems like I have problems. But the greatest part about living, I think, is when you can laugh through your pain.
And you only need one nipple, really. Two's a waste, anyways.
Well, I wasn't gonna breastfeed anyway. So my kids are so far apart, and my husband no. I only suck the left side.
Yeah,
the right side don't have no feeling.
You just can't feel anything on the other side, right?
You know what's crazy? I have a handicap sticker in my car. Well, I used to have a handicap sticker. And I get out the car, people are like, "Why are you handicapped?" I'll be like, "'Cause I'm missing a nipple."
It's quite debilitating.
Well, it wasn't my nipple. My father was handicapped and his sticker was in the car. Well, when people look at me, I was like, "Mind your business, I'm missing a nipple. That's my sticker."
It's a nipple sticker. I love it. Well, Miss Pat, where can people can find you online? Where can they see where you're at next and follow you? How do our listeners do that?
Well, I'm on Twitter, Comedienne, COMEDIENNE, Miss Pat, MSPAT. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I also have a website at MissPatComedy.com.
Yep. And are you coming back to Canada? You already did a tour of Canada. Are you coming back? You have any intentions or plans coming back to Canada?
Well, as soon as somebody call me, I'll be there.
Let's do it. Let's book it.
Do this.
I go to Edmonton about every year and a half. So, I mean, if any other part of Canada call me, I will be there. I love Canada.
We got to make this happen now.
I couldn't eat those fries and gravy you guys
Oh,
ate.
the poutine?
What is that stuff called?
Poutine with cheese on it. You don't like it?
I can't eat no shit. No, I'm too old for that. That'll stop my bowels up.
Oh, Jesus.
When you get a certain age, it's some shit you can't eat. And some called poutine scare my stomach.
It's fucking frightening, right? It really is. It's cold. Yeah, it's a scary thing to look at. It's cold as fuck up here, though. That's the problem. We weird shit because we're cold and drunk most of the year.
I see.
Well, thank you so much for coming on our show. We're really looking forward to seeing you in Toronto eventually, and it's been a wonderful talk. Thank you again, Miss Pat. And if you want to,
thank you so much for having me.
We look forward to talking to you again.
It's our pleasure.
Okay, thank you, darling.
Take care.